What is happening, guys? Cowboy here, and I know I'm a week late, but it's finally time to get the Medivh guide out to you guys. So it took a little bit longer to get this one put out, just because of how busy I've been lately, so I do apologize for that. I'm actually in the process of buying my first house, so needless to say, things are a little bit hectic. But enough about that, and let's talk about Medivh. So the latest character to enter the Nexus is a specialist character, but despite that, he's actually much more of a specialist support hybrid. Looking over our abilities, we only have one ability that actually does damage, and that's his Arcane Rift. Aside from that, we have Force of Will, giving us a shield, and then Portal, which is a utility spell, allowing us and teammates to jump between two locations. So, definitely a very interesting character, and that's also part of the reason why it took so long to get this guide out, is just because after all the games I've done with Medivh, I finally decided that he's really not a hero that is viable for solo queues and something like Quick Match. If you're playing with teammates that you know, that you're communicating with, or alternatively, if you're drafting around him in Hero League, he can be a great hero, and he can bring a lot to the team. But as a solo pick, he just doesn't have the potential to stand against other specialists. That being said, he is still an awesome hero, especially when comboed correctly, so enough talking about that. Let's actually go into Medivh and his abilities and give you a more in-depth look. So as I mentioned, our first up ability is Arcane Rift. Now this is Medivh's only damaging ability. As you can see, when we hit an enemy hero, the cooldown on it is, well, let me turn off toggle cooldowns. But when we hit an enemy hero, you can see the cooldown is reduced greatly by that, allowing us to basically spam the ability in combat. Also a great ability to chase down heroes, as you're seeing right here. You know, we're able to keep up with Arthas and basically chase him all the way down into his base while continuing to spam that ability there. Up from there, we have Force of Will. Now this is kind of similar to Divine Shield in the fact that we just prevent everything that happens. It does not affect CC at all, so you can still get polyed, you can still get stunned, rooted, but it will prevent all damage sources, which is especially good if you know exactly when to time it. And as you can see, we have quite a large range on this, so you can use this on yourself or allies. One of my favorite things to do with it is when you see Chromie doing rewind combos. I feel this is kind of the ultimate counter to it, because anybody that's caught out, whenever you see the little icon for rewind, you can just literally sit there and just spam W, so that the second they come out of rewind, they're shielded and you prevent all damage. Moving on from there, we have Portal. Now you can see we have a little circle right here, and the smaller circle represents where you could place the portal. In addition to that, we also have a bigger circle that you're seeing, and that represents the range for the portal. But the portal offers probably one of the best utility abilities in the game. Just for an example, you know, you could be over here doing a merc camp, someone's attacking your tower, you pop that, you and Thrall just took the camp, boom, you jump through, and all of a sudden it's a 2-on-1 and Arthas is trying to escape, but he's rooted and polymorphed and everything else. On top of that, also a great escaping tool as well, especially when things are getting a little bit hairy in combat. One of the things I like to do is, just because I'll be kind of closer to the backline as Medivh, just continually spamming Arcane Rift. As I start to retreat, I'll toss up a portal, let people know, and then if they are low and they need to get out, you know, while I'm tossing on a shield on them, they hit the portal, they jump on through, and then they're safely back behind a gate with no risk of death. As for our trait, we have Raven form. Instead of getting a mount, we turn into a raven, and we can fly over anything in the game. On top of that, we're completely invulnerable. As you can see, the vision radius, not all that big, but rest assured that will get upgraded with a talent we pick. But really good scouting potential, great for finding the enemy team, kind of seeing where they're at. One of the things I like to do personally, just because of how squishy I am, is I'll find the enemy team, and then I will portal, let my team engage, and as you can see, pop the Force of Will. Lost minimal health there, managed to get out, and meanwhile my team just jumped in on the enemies while they were unaware, and were able to basically clean things up from there. So really cool mount option for him, and I especially like the vision that it offers. So anyway, going into the talent pick with Medivh. First up out of all of our talents, looking at them and analyzing and whatnot, we are going to be going for Mana Adept, hands down. Now, as you can see, with Arcane Rift, we already get 30 mana back of the 60 mana cost if we hit a hero. But Medivh's mana pool isn't invincible. You know, if we're tossing out those, and then we're popping that, and well, let me turn off toggle cooldowns. You know, we're tossing out portals in combat, so we just toss out our portal, we engage, we're shielding up, we're tossing that out, and we're getting back some mana. The fight's sustaining, though, we gotta put up more shields, we're tossing out some mana, and you can see we're already getting down on mana pretty low. We're down to about half of our mana already. So having Mana Adept definitely helps that out a ton. Getting back 100 mana, or getting back 100% of the mana for that, means that the only mana you're really going to be spending is going to be on your portal or on top of your Force of Will. to just protect yourself, which is great, and it's going to make it a lot easier to sustain yourself in fights. As for the other talents, increased portal duration. I feel if you're coordinating with your team, you're not going to need that. It's going to put our portals from 6 to 9 seconds, which is kind of nice, but once again, not necessary. Portal mastery. Don't feel this is needed whatsoever. The only thing that does is instead of putting the portal right at us, it's going to let us put the portal wherever we want in that inner circle that you saw right here. Which, I mean, it can be kind of nice, but just not really necessary, you know? Just a little bit of positioning on your own makes that completely, unnecessary. Raven's Intellect, 100% increase in our mana regeneration. Kind of nice, but personally, I don't feel it's going to offset mana added because that is going to give us mana on our main damaging move, which we will be spamming in fights. Moving on to Talent Tier 4, Bird's Eye View. Now, hands down, this is going to be the talent to go to here. I've really liked Mage Armor for a while. It's, being able to grant block, especially great if you have a heavy melee team and they're initiating. But the vision increase you get from Bird's Eye View is fantastic. And on top of that, the active bonus of this is absurd. Dust of Appearance, nice if you are up against a lot of stealth heroes. But just to give you guys an idea of how nice this is. So we're going to go way over here. Alright, and right now you can see our vision radius very clearly. We pick up this a little bit wider. When we pop the ability, huge amount of vision. And on top of that, we get that on a 30-second cooldown, which basically means every 30 seconds we're in bird form. Where's the enemy team at? Oh, look, they're over here at this merc camp. Or, oh, look, they're behind that gate. That is absurd. And it's awesome. And needless to say, vision wins games in MOBAs. Moving on to 7. A lot of talents here that are really good. Personally, my favorite is the Master's Touch. Now, just to analyze them a little bit more in depth, Arcane Charge, pretty nice. Anytime we damage an enemy here, we're going to do an extra 25% on the next Arcane Rift. It doesn't stack, so if we hit for 400 and we pick that up, our next one is going to be hitting for close to 500 damage. We're going to be getting 25% of that 400. So, that's nice. Master's Touch, however, we are getting 100% permanently added on. So, just looking at these two, this is 25% more damage. 25 of this is going to be about 100. This is going to add 100 flat out. And on top of that, you can have this before level 20. Given this will have more damage as you're building it, this also will impact everything. So that 100 damage you're getting out of Master's Touch will help against structures, it'll help against creeps, it'll help against mercs. It's not just about heroes. And on top of that, permanently increasing the cooldown by an extra second, that's actually pretty helpful because, we already have low cooldowns at 2 seconds, but by getting that, basically, when we hit that cooldown, we can just literally spam it. And you'll see a little bit about that in the actual match we play. You'll see how fast we're able to throw those out with that. Arcane Explosion, Force of Will deals area damage. In my opinion, it's just not really that worth it. Looking at this, it's going to deal 417 area of effect damage, which can be kind of nice, especially if you're spamming at all of your tank all the time. But, we're getting 415 damage from this alone, and we'll be able to spam us on a 1-second cooldown. I'd rather take that over something on a 5-second cooldown that may or may not work, because a lot of the time I'm going to be using it to save somebody who needs to get out of trouble. Using the portal grants a Raven Familiar. Just honestly, why? Raven Familiar joins ally, uses the portal, it'll dive the ally's next Bex attack for 260 damage. Why? That's silly. Don't bother with it. Go Master's Touch. Moving on for 10. Both ultis are really, really good here. Leyline Seal, great for setting up targets. As you can see, huge range on this. You can toss this out. Great for setting up wombo combos with the appropriate team. That being said, I personally do think that the better choice here is Polybomb. If I had to pick, 90% of the time, Polybomb will be what I would go with. And that's because, one, it's on a 40-second cooldown, which is awesome. Leyline Seal, 80-second cooldown. On top of that, Polymorph Bomb will spread. So it has this nice little radius. Any enemies that walk into that get polymorphed. And this can indefinitely chain. Very similar to how Living Bomb used to chain with Kayle, which is pretty ridiculous, especially in the context of team fights. You take stuff like Apocalypse, the Gravity Bomb that Gazlo does, and there's a lot of combos you can do with this where you can effectively just kind of chain a team into oblivion and make sure they're not casting because they're polymorphed. But not only that, because it's on a 40-second cooldown, I don't feel bad about popping this to help me secure the kill on one person if I'm with my team. I don't need to preserve that just for team fights. Anyway, moving on to 13. Now here, I feel there's two very, very strong selections depending on the map: Astral Projection or Winds of Celerity. Now, Winds of Celerity, obviously increasing your movement speed by 100% in Raven does help quite a bit, especially because our movement speed is actually only increased by 15% as base, so we go up to 30, which even then is slower than a mount, but it can help. Increasing our portal range, though, also pretty significant. As you can see right now, if I put, let me put Medivh on the very edge of the screen, you can see right here. Now, if I take this, you can see all the way out there. So that's huge. Right now, we can have the whole team behind the gate. Portal everybody into the bush. Wait for the wave, and then a whole 5-man squad comes out. And then there's the polymorph, and then there you're dropping out your spells. It's just absurd, and even more so if you need to escape. If you've already retreated, it looks like a losing battle, one person got CC'd, here you go, bro, portal's up. And they are free to go. I mean, just having that extra range on it is absurd. Whereas reducing the cooldown, I mean, bringing it down to 10 seconds is kind of nice, but I feel like as you get better with using your portal, you should be able to tell when is a good time to use it and when is a good time to not. And that'll really help with not needing quickening, because you'll be able to know, all right, I need to use this to engage, or no, I don't need to use this to engage, I want to save it to escape, thus negating the need of that. Moving on to 16. Circle of Protection, hands down, best talent in this tier. Now, a lot of people take reabsorption. Honestly, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. 50% of the damage absorbed over a 1.5 second duration. Just to grab it and show you guys, let's see, am I down to 50%? Little heal came in, but it didn't really do much right there. I can pop it and take a couple hits. Just like the amount we're healing for is so minuscule, you're just not getting the healing you want. As you can see there, I got 198 out of that. 198. Like, no, just pointless amounts of healing. Not really worth it. Yeah, it might add up over time. But fact of the matter is, Circle of Protection, on the other hand, Circle of Protection is fantastic. And just to show you the little AoE it creates, as you can see, when we hit W, that little kind of cross ley line type deal that was created, any allied heroes around that get the shield, which means you can effectively shut down AoE attacks, huge AoE ultis that are coming out, anything that could damage a bunch of people, and it's going to be wherever you cast it as well. It's going to block out all of that damage. So in my opinion, clear winner here, no reason to not take Circle of Protection. Enduring Will, 33% duration, makes it 2 seconds instead of 1.5, also way overshadowed by the fact that you could have AoE. Now, at 20, I feel Medivh is actually one of the most flexible heroes with what you're going to take at 20. That being said, I feel the heroic upgrades are both fantastic options. Getting the Polybomb Radius and making it explode 1 second sooner is awesome for seeing the chain effect on teams. You can see that's our regular poly right there. Now we're going to show you the big poly. So as you can see, they're not polymorphed as long, giving you less time to kill your target, but it's the fact that this is going to chain a lot faster in team fights, just giving it more of a chance to spread. They have less time to react to make sure they're not grouped on top of each other. And that's what makes Polymorph Bomb so fantastic. Medivh cheats, if you do take Leyline Seal, is fantastic because you can like hit 2 people and then redirect it to hit the other 2. Guardian of Tearsfall, don't feel you really need this. Minion and catapults are instantly killed. Well, by the end of the game, we're at 415. I would have an extra 100 damage if I had been doing my quest. So basically, that's 2 Arcane Rifts. 2 Arcane Rifts, and the wave's going to be dead anyway. So killing it instantly, not going to be needed, in my opinion. Arcane Brilliance, however, pretty decent here. 200 mana to all nearby heroes and 10% ability power. If you're running a heavy mage team, I could see that viable. Personally, I don't feel Medivh really works well into mage teams, so keep that in mind. And the last talent here, Invisibility, 10-second cooldown, stealth an enemy hero for 20 seconds. Cool, but kind of gimmicky. So, all in all, final build I would suggest you using is going to be Mana Adept, Bird's Eye View, the Master's Touch, Polybomb, Astral Projection, Circle of Protection, and then lastly, Glyph of the Polybomb. So either way, guys, that is going to be it for the guide for Medivh. Like I said, definitely is a lot of fun to play, but you have to have a team to coordinate well with this hero. So either way, if you guys want to see him in action, make sure to stick around. Also have a match added on to the back end of the guide. But if not, thanks for coming on by, and we will see you guys next time with more Heroes of the Storm.